Hey everyone! Today we're diving into the 10 most intense games that will test your survival skills when nature strikes back. These games feature catastrophic storms, alien phenomena, and environmental hazards that'll make you question your gaming abilities. Whether you're facing radioactive anomalies or post-apocalyptic weather, these titles deliver pure adrenaline-pumping gameplay. So stick around as we count down the top 10 games with the most devastating storms and survival mechanics. Starting at number 10, Chernobylite. Chernobylite is a survival horror game set in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, 35 years after the disaster. You play as a stalker searching for your missing girlfriend while uncovering the mysteries of what really happened. The game's storm system is absolutely brutal, unpredictable anomalies and radiation. Storms can strike anywhere, forcing you to seek shelter in underground bunkers and abandoned facilities. The radiological weather isn't just a visual effect. It's a constant threat that depletes your health and forces you into intense survival decisions. You'll need to manage resources, craft gear, and dodge not just environmental hazards, but also dangerous military personnel. What makes Chernobylite especially terrifying is that you can actually see the radiation storms approaching, this eerie purple haze rolling across the landscape, while your Geiger counter goes absolutely berserk. You're constantly making life or death decisions. Do you risk running through contaminated areas to reach your objective, or do you backtrack and lose precious time? The psychological weight of the zone combined with the radioactive storms creates an experience that's more about fear than combat. At number 9 is Just Cause 4. The game takes explosive action to extreme heights with its next-gen destruction and, most importantly, its revolutionary weather system. You play as Rico Rodriguez, causing chaos in the fictional country of Solis while battling an evil military corporation. The standout feature is the dynamic, whether we're talking massive tornadoes, lightning storms, and thunderstorms that fundamentally change how you approach combat and traversal. These aren't scripted events. Tornadoes can appear anywhere, lifting vehicles and enemies into the air. What's absolutely brilliant about Just Cause 4 storms is that they're not obstacles, they're opportunities. You can use your grappling hook to interact with tornadoes, directing them toward enemy bases or using them to destroy entire settlements. Lightning storms illuminate the battlefield in spectacular ways, while making vehicle combat incredibly dangerous. The weather is constantly destructive, and high-ranking military bases are specifically built on terrain prone to natural disasters. The storm system creates unpredictable gameplay, where you can turn the weather into a weapon, launching enemies and vehicles into the chaos. Number 8 is Dune Awakening. Dune Awakening is a free-to-play survival MMO set on the unforgiving desert planet of Arrakis. You're stranded on a planet covered in endless dunes, extreme heat, and the most dangerous predators imaginable. The sandstorms in this game are absolutely terrifying. Massive walls of sand sweep across the desert, reducing visibility to almost nothing and dealing constant damage. What makes Dune Awakening unique is that it's a multiplayer experience, meaning you're not just surviving, you're competing with hundreds of other players for scarce resources. When a sandstorm hits, you're frantically racing against both the environment and rival players to reach shelters. These aren't just environmental obstacles, they're part of the game's core survival loop. You'll need to find shelter, manage your water supply, and navigate using landmarks before the next storm buries you alive. At number 7 is 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die is a brutal zombie survival sandbox that will test every ounce of your gaming endurance. Every 7 days, massive hordes of zombies attack your base with increasing intensity. But the real threat is the game's environmental system. You'll face extreme weather events, snowstorms, radiation storms, and acid rain that deals damage and forces you inside. The storm prediction system means you need to constantly manage your resources and prepare shelter, because when a storm hits, it's catastrophic. What's particularly brutal is that you can receive storm warnings, but you never know exactly when they'll hit, adding to the psychological tension. Number 6, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is a massive procedurally generated space exploration game where every planet is unique and potentially lethal. You'll discover countless planets, but many are plagued by superheated storms, extreme weather, and toxic atmospheres that drain your suit's power in seconds. The storm system varies wildly across planets. Some feature electromagnetic storms that damage your equipment. Others have corrosive acid rain or sub-zero blizzards. You'll need to find caves or bases to survive these catastrophic events. The environmental variety is staggering. You might land on a planet with sentient storms that hunt you, or another where the ground itself is radioactive. Your suit has limited shield capacity, and managing your suit's power is crucial. You're constantly hunting for elements to recharge before the next storm hits. What makes No Man's Sky special is the scale and randomness. You never know what weather phenomenon awaits on your next planet. Some storms can last for extended periods, trapping you in caves for entire in-game days. At number 5, Metro Exodus. Metro Exodus is a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter that stands out for its environmental, storytelling, and atmospheric survival elements. After a nuclear war devastates Moscow, you escape the metro tunnels in search of the rumored safe haven of Aurora. The game features devastating radiation storms and harsh environmental conditions that force you through linear level designs with intense combat and survival sequences. The narrative weight of these storms is incredible. You're traveling with your wife and son, trying to keep your family alive through hostile wastelands, where every storm represents potential catastrophe. During blizzard sections, your weapons frost over and become unreliable, forcing you to rely on melee combat or stealth. The Aurora itself drives the narrative forward, representing hope, but the storms and environmental hazards constantly remind you that the world is hostile. Visibility drops to almost nothing during storms, forcing you to navigate by landmarks and sound cues while enemies use the chaos to hunt you. Number 4. Stalker 2. Stalker 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to the legendary Ukrainian series, featuring one of gaming's most terrifying phenomena, anomalies and emission storms. Set in an alternate Chernobyl exclusion zone, you navigate a vast open world filled with dangerous anomalies, hostile military factions, and unpredictable emission storms that rip through the zone with terrifying power. These emissions are devastating events where gravitational anomalies tear through the landscape, killing everything in their path with reality-warping forces. The zone is absolutely hostile. You'll encounter gravitational anomalies that suspend objects and creatures mid-air, electrified zones that zap you on contact, and vortex anomalies that can tear your body apart. Emission storms are perhaps the most terrifying elements when they strike. Every creature in the zone, no matter how dangerous, runs for shelter. The sky turns a sickly purple. The ground shakes, and invisible forces tear through anything caught outside. You're constantly checking your detector, planning routes around anomalies, and finding shelter when emissions strike. The psychological horror of these storms is unmatched. You're not just running from danger, you're running from the fabric of reality itself becoming weaponized. Your suits offer limited protection, but prolonged exposure to anomalies causes internal bleeding and radiation poisoning. Number 3 is the legendary Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is a massive open-world RPG set in post-nuclear Boston where you build settlements and fight in a fractured world. While storms aren't as visually destructive as other entries on this list, the game's survival mode elevates it by forcing you to manage extreme weather, hunger, thirst, disease, and fatigue. Your settlements can be destroyed by storms and raiders, creating genuine consequences for your choices. The environmental storytelling is incredible. You'll discover what happened to the world through exploration rather than exposition. Survival mode makes weather genuinely dangerous. You can't fast travel or save freely, as getting caught in a storm far from shelter becomes a legitimate threat. What makes Fallout 4's survival system compelling is that weather affects your entire playthrough. Extreme temperatures cause status effects, diseases spread faster during storms, and settlements need proper roofing to protect crops and settlers. You're managing not just yourself but entire communities dependent on your planning and resource allocation. The psychological pressure builds as you realize one bad decision during a storm can cascade into settlement collapse. At number 2 is Mad Max. The game is an intense action-adventure set In the brutal post-apocalyptic Australian wasteland, you drive a souped-up car through sand dunes, encounter hostile tribes, and scavenge for resources in one of gaming's most hostile environments. The game features sandstorms that significantly reduce visibility and create dangerous driving conditions on wasteland roads. Your car is your lifeline, but sandstorms force you to abandon vehicles and navigate on foot, making you vulnerable to enemies and environmental hazards. What makes Mad Max's survival system brilliant is that everything is tied to resource scarcity. Every drop of fuel matters, every vehicle part is precious, and water is worth more than ammunition. Sandstorms intensify this pressure. Visibility drops so low that navigation becomes nearly impossible, forcing you to either push through and risk crashes or find shelter. Your car takes damage from storms, dust gets into the engine, components fail, and repairs require scarce materials. And finally, at number 1, Stalker Call of Pripyat. Call of Pripyat stands as the ultimate survival horror experience, representing the pinnacle of environmental tension in gaming. This prequel to the original Stalker drops you into the Chernobyl exclusion zone as an investigator following a crashed military transport. The emission storms in this game are absolutely devastating. The sound and visuals of the emission gives immense psychological fear that still gives us goosebumps from childhood. The anomalies are hyper-realistic. You'll see objects suspended in midair, ground that's been twisted and warped by invisible forces, and evidence of creatures torn to shreds by reality warping phenomena. You're constantly listening to your PDA for warnings, planning routes around anomalies, and calculating whether you have enough time to reach shelter. The game's sound design is phenomenal. The eerie electromagnetic hum preceding emissions, the crackling of radiation, and the absolute silence of death when you venture too close to active anomalies. That's our list, the top 10 wasteland games and the storms that define them. Which storm left you breathing hard? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear which survival experience left you the most traumatized. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.